Morning. Back at it again. Back to back days? No way. Way. All right. Let's look on the docket and see what's happening for today. I feel like that music is a little louder than usual. It's all good though. Let's have a look. I already know what's happening, but just going back through the process. If you want to analyze something right now, or like an ability, if you have the ability to utilize intraday trading skills of some sort, you know, especially scalping or momentum trading. In 9 minutes, the Cleveland Fed president is going to have something to say, apparently. And you're also going to have manufacturing and U.S. services numbers. So, and then new home sales data. Not existing home sales, but new home sales. So you can expect volatility, most likely. Election season is well underway. Can't go anywhere without hearing more about it, which is fine. But throw that in the mix. Not to mention Tesla and, well, we had Netflix before that, but Tesla earnings. That's going to continue to be a topic of conversation, I think, especially as it pertains to Elon Musk's involvement in the Republican Party's campaign. I won't go over to Tesla just yet. Let's go to like the standard. If I had a standard chart, it'd be 5 minutes, and you see all the volume happening here after this wild breakdown. A lot of times, the reversal seems like it's a no-brainer. This is the spot. That's the trade from here up. However, volatility aside, it's just good practice to mark your pivots. Like, see, I just moved this over to the next day. That's it. All I'm trying to do is just see more. And what do you know? It's price consolidated here, so you're going to see that. But this is just one way of looking at it, to think might not be out of the woods. And honestly, I'm gonna stop using that phrase for this. It's risky, and it's a lot of risk. Okay, for that kind of trade, there's nothing you can avoid the fact that you might be taking on more risk than necessary. Sometimes it's market dependent. This is one of those times. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. What's funny is I'm reading this headline that says, stock market today, NASDAQ, S&P 500 poised for a comeback as Tesla earnings lift spirits. Bro, look at where the market is. You don't need your spirits lifted, okay? You need your awareness and apprehension and spider senses lifted all at once. Honestly, this is crazy. The market has amnesia in a lot of ways, Market goes up. It can go up for weeks at a time. Cool. You have one down day. Now everybody needs a pick-me-up. Good Lord. Grow up. It's hilarious. Okay. But again, that's just a headline that I read for some reason. Now, there's some other things we can do. I'm going to look at Tesla real fast, just to join in on the fun. Yes, indeed. Fun indeed. Oh, look, it's about to touch. Wait, has it done that yet? 250. I'm on record saying, hold on, wait a minute. Do you guys remember that? We were talking about it going to 200, and then I said, I think it's going to go higher or closer to 250. Wait a damn minute. I just remembered that. I own shares of Tesla, so I win regardless. Because if it doesn't go up, then I'm just going to write options against it. That's nuts. Anyway, I bet you if you go look through Telegram, you'll find it. There's the 250. No crystal ball required. I forgot that we have this on other platforms now. We're streaming at the same time. These are kind of like warm up or test streams because we're getting everything set up technically. So if you're on YouTube or Twitch, just peeking in, this is mostly for our Telegram community. And also we'll start streaming in we'll start streaming in 4K. Just not right now while we're getting some things set up. All right, let's go back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just send me a message, dude. If you don't know how to message me, don't message me on YouTube. I'm not going to see it. Don't message me on Telegram. Really, I'm probably not going to see it. At least it's going to take me a while. But Twitter or x.com, that'd be the place. Okay, so you got this data coming out in a few minutes, and then we'll see what's up from there. Maybe I'll show you some cool stuff here in a second. Life is insane, brother. All right, so I got an idea too. Let's so like that short trade is, that opportunity, if you want to call it that. The setup is there. It has the makings of that. I don't want to use the 1 minute chart for this, but you see that H pattern. It's the same thing, but what you got to be willing to accept, instead of saying be careful of, let's just start saying that. What you have to be willing to accept is that price gapped up through here. So tread lightly. For some people, that's a risk they're willing to take. That can change from one day to the next. Also, Tesla did not like the cut of 250's jib, apparently. Nah, it's fine. A lot of times, you'll see that you have a pullback, maybe it continues. I don't know. I have no interest in trading anything that's at all-time highs. There's no range to really work with. Nvidia, boring. Meta, well, this is a falling wedge, and I'm literally just going around getting familiar with how everything is sitting. I forgot to post to Twitter X yesterday. Post the trade that I took. Yeah, maybe I'll do it today. We'll see. Oh, what is this music? By the way, this is not my music. This is this is Restream's music. Holy crap! What is this? Royalty free? Don't make me upload some copyrighted material, because I'll do it. Okay, Microsoft with the reversal. I don't trade Microsoft though, but okay, I'm paying attention to that. And then AMD, same thing. So most things. Oh, here we go. Google also has that. If I were taking something or trading something like a bit further out, like next week, these might be all right. But if you're going to trade that far out to mitigate risk, you might as well wait until the data comes out, or until the Fed's done speaking or whatever as well. So I'm gonna do that. Just a friendly reminder that while that might be cool to trade right at the open, you guys have seen me do that a lot, but many of you have tried to do that a lot. No matter what you think, I'm telling you factually, and I'm willing to put money on it, that traders that have setups the night before or the pre-market and they say, I just take the trade off the setup that I had, I guarantee you they are lying to you about how successful or what their win rates or their level of consistency is. That's a guarantee. That's something only... I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be diplomatic today. That's not something someone who's cautious at the level that you probably want to be cautious would do and or say. This music is starting to get on my bad side. Let's see what we got. Okay, you know, on Telegram I have some that I found from yesterday in Dropbox. I know I got some good stuff. See how price is like kind of breaking down, but it's not really committing to it. And you got that higher IV. If you want to pay for it, that's on you. But I would start looking at what the next mental pivot is, or pivot in general, and we can actually do that right now. 10-minute chart, it doesn't matter what we use, but just this area, this range here. I'll leave this one in place because it played a factor yesterday, but I don't want to. Yeah. Nah, we don't need. Nah, we don't need it. We got the line there. I'm gonna move this here, and we're gonna focus on just this area, and maybe even say 575.50, which would mark this volume here. So let's talk about the pre-market low as, if you want to call it, like a spot to watch out for, or a spot to pay attention to the price action at. Maybe that's the spot. Future finance. Oh, there we go. There is so much taking place. Yeah, let me download. Let me get my music uploaded here, dude. Because what the hell? Oh, I got some good stuff here. I gotta actually upload these tracks. That's crazy. Okay, downloads. Nope. Yep. Let's try. No more of that chill hop. Hell no. No. No way. No more of that. I just can't do it. Okay, what we got here? This I can listen to on loop. It's fire. It might put you to sleep though. Be careful. If you want to see any of the cool stuff that is on the way to you, just stay tuned. I might be able to show you something today. All right, let's see if this plays. In the chat, let me know if you're able to hear this, because this is coming from my uploads, the audio that I'm gonna start playing. And obviously I can't hear what you guys hear. I actually think I shared this one time in chat, but it's like almost impossible to find. I actually have a high quality version of this from back in like 2010. All right, let's read these numbers. You know what? I just remembered something. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm glad you can hear it. Okay. Oh yeah, it's about to be a great couple of months, man. Great couple of months, great few months, whatever. One thing I want to know is what... Oh, never mind. I found it. Okay. So yeah, this price action is very... It's... You can't even see the price action, so let me change that sentence. Well, I'll change the candles first. The way the candles look like this I pretty much stay away from. You know, that's when it's a good time to move on over to something else. Back to what I was saying about that pullback on Tesla. Again, if you are somebody that is just antsy and you feel like you want to trade and you have to trade and whatever, I'm telling you, you're flying too close to the sun, Icarus, and you're gonna get cooked real fast if you're not already. You know what I mean? Like you're already heating up. You know, So just calm down, relax. This ain't 2020. It's not 2021. Actually, it is kind of like 2021 because I don't know if you guys remember that spring where, or the summer where it was on Twitter. There's a whole bunch of groups forming, and a lot of people were saying how easy it was for them and whatever else. And then about half of FinTwit disappeared in 8 months. Crazy. All right, so that's flagging. Great. Okay, so here we go. So you still have this bounce, if you want to call it that, shaping up. And just like yesterday, can anybody remind me or tell me what we used yesterday? What is this, a first grade class? Can anyone tell me what indicator we use? No, seriously though, the opening range is something that we could use. Again, there is nothing special about it. It's just a great way to get some, otherwise arbitrary levels and make them relevant. So let's take this one and go into that 5 minutes real fast. But just committing to price. It's the same idea as price breaking from pre-market highs and lows, right? It is applying or taking a level, taking something that has happened or that you have seen at that time, in recent moments, aka this morning, and having a visual reference for when price then breaks out beyond or below that. That's really it. There's demystifying another indicator. All right. But if it hasn't cleared that area or hasn't cleared the upper range, then one strategy is to wait before making a judgment call. And we know that we talked about the 30-minute chart being the one for that. That is obviously not something we can use just yet. Price action reminds me a little bit of yesterday, but the candle itself, I couldn't tell you, how I feel about it. It's not like yesterday. Yesterday, I as I was watching the price action, I could see what felt familiar to me, and also what was currently or consistently substantiating the thesis, or just the idea that I had. I shouldn't even call it a thesis. It's the idea that I had, and something I've done a lot of times. So I felt pretty comfortable with the probability and understanding, what my role in that trade would be, and of course, what my capacity be to take that trade and profit from it, I guess. But let's dive into. Okay, we got Tesla here. We don't need that. I just want to look at these two real quick. The other reversal, was it Google or was it it? It was. Okay. That range is crazy. So we have to look at Nvidia as well. Nothing. Okay. There you go. All right. So some rotations across the board. Now, a very low level way of applying this would just be, you see a lot of the market on this downturn, but I mean, one, you got to be able to identify what that downturn looks like and not make that mistake. There are still gaps in the price action here. If you let's bring this over to here. Even here, there's, so what we've been calling gap aversion or avoidance or whatever the hell, that's a very real thing. But when a lot of the market starts to lean, if I can find one that's lagging or a little late on that lean, sometimes I'll add that to my thought process, like SPY, for instance. If I'm getting a cue from other names that are starting to break down and it hasn't quite done that, that might be the little push that I need to, or that leap in logic. Above all, always remind yourself life is great. Absolutely. Absolutely. Every day. It's as I continue to say, it all starts with gratitude. It sounds cheesy and it sounds like a platitude, but I'm just speaking from my experience. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the thing that you need, or what you need to do to go about getting what you want. But for me, that seems to be where the source of power comes from. That and spite, for sure. Those two things. And you might be wondering, how does spite and gratitude go together? It's super easy. Super simple. Just watch me. Stay grateful for what you have and what, how your situation could be worse. And then you find some inspiration from somebody telling you that you can't do something because they don't know you. They got no business telling you what you can't do, let alone getting in your way. See? You just put those two things together, you got an unstoppable force. All right, see that I don't like, right? There's no supply, there's nothing around here where price should be moving like that. So I'm going to keep paying attention to that. I also got my eye on volume, so I know it's centered around here. That's cool with me. If I want to trade it, I have a meeting in like 30 minutes, by the way, so we can get you guys set up with the options. I don't know what we're calling. We don't even know what we're calling this thing. With the new options platform, I'm not even going through all of that, honestly, because there's a lot of ways to implement it, and it's still just one piece to the larger potential puzzle. Like, you don't have to use it. You don't have to use anything, really. I mean, but for those that want to use individual tools, or choose what works for them, this is going to be pretty solid for those who are like very into the options trading world. So many different strategies that you can use and learn from, because it's essentially how I learned to options on a deeper level, but it wasn't fancy like that. It didn't have all these, what do people say, bells and whistles. Yeah, there's that volatility. 7 o'clock. Okay, 10 o'clock. That means that data came out. Where we at? So we're gonna let it settle, let it cool, whatever, and see if there's anything we can gain from it without going too far off the inference cliff, aka guesswork. If it isn't there, it isn't there, right? We don't need to make things up or try to see things that aren't there. There's no need to force it. It's usually simple enough. Okay, schedule that one. We're good. Okay. Tesla. Interesting non-activity, non-action from Tesla comparatively. Okay. Apple, Microsoft. See, I'm flipping through these charts like this. Not cool, right? Now would be a cool time to say, like, now would be a great time if you do agree. Just to observe. That's all. I don't like that I'm flipping through these charts this way. If only there was a way. If only there was something that could be done about this. Only people are going to get that and laugh, but that's what makes it a great joke. It's not a joke, actually. It's just something that's hilarious. Because there is a solution to that. Pull counter setup. If I were to go to that 15-minute chart, I'd be willing to bet you money. Sure enough. Still, I don't see any anchors or magnets underneath here that inspire any great deal of confidence. So, knowing when to trade or knowing when not to trade is just as important as knowing when to trade. And it doesn't imply that you're incapable of doing something, but sometimes it's the right time and it's not. And in a quote unquote journey or a marathon, having longevity means you're going to need to make some decisions like that. And a lot of times those decisions they don't have immediate or apparent consequences or implications. In fact, you might even win the trade by doing something that later down the line comes back to haunt you. So we just need to take mental inventory and always have this overview, I think, of what we want to accomplish and where we are in the journey itself. See how it's lean and still? The lean. Now, personally, I wouldn't trade Tesla short. Not after. I just wouldn't trade options on anything that has made a move like that. nothing around earnings. Like it's not my idea of a good trade or good opportunity, for instance. But the lean we were talking about, so starting to see that in a few areas. Maybe not Apple, but Apple's trash. TrendSpider, could you hurry it up with the data, dude? AMD, okay, I'm not seeing any kind of immediate floor, but down here is maybe good enough. And the downside of this trade, if I wanted to if I had to take a trade, I mean, this is very much similar to what we saw yesterday. We had some positive catalyst, so to speak, if you want to call it that. And there is still this idea to me that price is going to break down in some capacity. Not because the market gapped up or anything like that. It's just the fact that the more the market trades like this, where there's a lot of volume here and you're not seeing any breakouts or returns back to where it spent this morning consolidating. I mean, to me, it's not damning evidence, but it is definitely something to consider. And given the climate of everything else and how things have been trading, again, just think of yesterday and caught a lot of people off guard, I think. But oh man, that was not pretty at all. So, yesterday doesn't necessarily dictate what you should think about the market today, but it's worth considering. It's worth adding to that bowl of option analysis or just trading in general. And now a word from our sponsors. You don't need to try and memorize what I'm saying or even understand what the hell I'm saying. If there's ever anything I think you really need to know, I usually say, you should write that down. Everything else, I mean, the resources are around here somewhere. Usually in the vault or go through Telegram and you'll see it. But I like to free form most of this. I like to wing it when I go out into the analytical space. I don't think that's what everyone should do. But when you see someone that has a certain structure, I know people tend to copy it. So I purposely don't go at it with a particular structure because people copy it and then they miss key details. The whole point is for you to think a little bit critically, even though for me, when I'm streaming, I'm trading or I'm considering trading. So I'm thinking out loud. This fluidity allows you to what might be most relevant for you. If I had to make this, if I had to condense this though and give you the cliff notes on it, I'm neutral to bearish, and I hate using that terminology, but I know it's what's going to connect the simplest. Neutral to bearish on the market in the near to midterm. And by near to midterm, I mean if I were trading something throughout the rest of this week. I'm not talking about just an intraday trade. I mean near as in within a few days span, to midterm, which, I mean, we're just going to go ahead and use that phrase to midterm and say, if I were trading options that were a week to 2 weeks out, but no more than that. And that's a crazy timeline, right? Like that's a lot going on, but I'm very much aware of what this market looks like. Now, if you look at that, tell me with a straight face that that's the kind of market you want to trade to the upside. I don't know. At least it's not for me. Making some generalizations here, but that's awful. Of course, any number of things could happen and the market could decide that it's ready. But this, I feel like there's been a certain amount of character in each of the days that we've seen leading up to this. Maybe not every single day, but remember when the market was moving like this? Actually, this is not even the best example. I guess this is okay, but I was more so referring to trading like this from August. Like it was, you would have a couple of days where, yeah, the market may have had its down day, but it was not breaking any kind of support. But the days where it was green, it was out of control. Yeah, people all up in arms on Twitter. That is not what's been happening. If anything, it's leaning the other way, and it's gapping up in the overnight session. So, something to keep in mind. Let's actually do a little bit more longer term, or a wider analysis, if you want to call it that. See that setup is there, but not. It's not for me the way it is right now. I'm telling you that, because I'm not going to put that kind of time and attention into it while I have other things to focus on. And even if I didn't, this right here, I'm telling you right now, when I see the market move that way, it's a no-go for me until we see some extremes. That's what this is for. Okay. And if you really want to, you could add that and say what these things are for. But I do not like the price action at all to side. Let's go examine something else. Got him. Okay, so the magnet with the volume. We can see that. Something to keep in mind before going against the grain. Horrible price action. Garbage. Apple. Yep. Once this election is over, this is all going to... market's going to become a lot... I think anyway. I think it's going to become a lot easier to read and a lot less... I don't want to say volatile. I think the standard deviations will decrease. I think price will trade in a bit of a wider range, but I think you'll get more to the upside and the downside consistently rather than, I should say, well, let me rephrase that. I think the differences between the standard deviation in each of these names will change and will decrease. I think they become more aligned, so that way, when you see the market moving a certain way, you can say, oh, the market is doing this, instead of, well, these names are trading to the upside, but then these names are doing this and that. It's typical when you rotate out of certain sectors that you'll see that. Not to mention rebalancing of certain indexes or indices, and then of course loss harvesting, right? So there's a lot of events that typically you'll have to look forward to before any of this, but this reminds me so much of 2020. It's insane. See, now if I were the trader that I used to be, as in maybe quite a bit more impulsive, I'd probably trade this short, because it would be almost inconceivable to me to see price break out, before it breaks down. And I would tell myself I'd be able to close that trade on the breakdown first. That's just one idea. I don't need to do it that way, and I've seen how that can lead to trouble. But all in all, I'm just not seeing any upward price action here. And you see it clearly missed that opening range that's right there. So 7:16. Okay. Let's send some messages out here. Oh, I got a great idea, actually. Maybe tomorrow we'll log into the terminal for you to be able to see some of the layouts and see some cool stuff, or get some mental insight and preparation into like how it can be used or how you're going to use. Speaking of which, we need to get the. Do we get the patent? We gotta get. We need to go back through and stamp all of them. We start seeing patent pending everywhere. For us, yeah, we're going overboard. Now this is a little bit better. This is what this is that H pattern. If you don't see what it is that I see, just open your eyes, bruh. You've seen this many times. You know what this is. It's not exactly a death sentence for the price action itself. It's just when you start to see things like this, you need to start looking underneath and saying, well, is there a spot where this can bounce? And just so there is no confusion for anyone, I will go ahead and dim this. I'm also going to make this a solid line and emphasize it a little bit more and label it correctly, which is pre-market low. There you go. And we don't even need this anymore. Actually, let's get rid of it. It just doesn't need to be there. Yes, these candles are getting a little on my nerves. I'll switch off a log real quick to make this a little easier. See how different chart moves when it's not a log chart. But you don't see certain things that you could see if using log, and it also makes you a lot more specific with how you analyze price, and maybe even seeing the visual differences between moves in price. Log, no log. Linear scale for it by itself is just, it's a pretty simple concept if you want to read up on it. But for the sake of navigating this chart without needing to constantly do this, I'm gonna keep off, or stick to. I'm gonna keep the linear chart off for now. See, all right. So you didn't get a full breakdown here, but again, of course, the areas that I'm looking for if I want to take this trade is I just want to maybe even a break of the. Let's just call it today's low first. Right, or the regular session. That's when we can start thinking about maybe approaching this volume shelf here, or breaking down into whatever pivots we can find from the day prior. We're not quite there yet, and I still think it's a little dangerous. 579, still very close to 580, and 580 acting as a mental pivot. It can be a magnet just like that. You can go into the intraday candles if you want. And oh, there you go. Well, that explains a lot. Anybody, can you tell me what this pattern is called? It has a name in Webster's dictionary. It's also a Constitution of the United States of America. Yeah, feel free in the chat if you can recall. There's two people that I know for sure know exact three people that I know off top know what this is called, but I don't want to tell you which three people it is because it's too much of a giveaway. When I tell you what it is, that sentence will make sense. I'll give you one more hint. That pattern is all I needed to see today. That's literally what it's doing right now. That's all I needed to see. Had I seen this first, I would have turned I literally would not have needed to go to any other charts, nothing. Bingo. The time waster pattern. Absolutely. When we say time waster pattern, we're just referring to intraday options traders who trade small moves, typically, who are trading for a directional move, but a short one, trying to find or take positions through here, especially midday or mid morning, all bad. That's how the IV and those options end up killing your position. Now, of course, there are strategies that you can use for this. There are option strategies that will allow you to capitalize on potential just sideways activity, but we're not going to dive into that right now. But it is one of the first things we're going to talk about here in the coming months as we're implementing this new system. In the event that there is something other than sideways action or activity, here's a little information before I leave for my meeting. Keep it simple, right? That's the foremost thing to do. And keeping it simple, it means the least amount of analysis with the most amount of impact. To me, that's what that means. It also means don't overcomplicate things. And it also means use common sense. The stuff that you already know is still valuable. I say this often, but maybe not in this manner, but I'll say it this way this time. Don't psych yourself out by thinking I'm trading using a whole bunch of information that is going to take you a long time to utilize. It's not the case. I use the same things that most of you are using, or at least the same. I take the same approach. It's the fundamentals over and over and over again. I might shift in and out of different ideas, and it may make things seem tougher or harder to follow. That's fine, but just pay attention to the things that I say, especially when I put them on wax or when I show them on screen, or I spend a few minutes outlining something. It's probably important, or if you've heard me say it a bunch of times, it's probably important. And then you get a sheet of paper, or I don't know, a page in your journal, or I don't know, a note in your phone, or I don't know, something like that, right? Just one. Honestly, just one. And you make that like your source of truth for trading in terms of information and or wisdom. And what you do is you put it all there, but you don't put every idea there. Only the ideas where you say, damn, that was crazy. That was insane. My eyes have opened. And then the next week, I want you to go back and look at that list and say, damn, what did I mean by that? That's how it always is. Rarely does the information you write down make sense to you much later. Can anyone relate to that as it pertains to trading? I'm just curious if we have any honest people in the house tonight. Your trading notes right now in your notebook, could you realistically go through it and explain what the hell you were writing or what you were talking about when you wrote that stuff down? I know the answer is no. This I'm trying to tell you. I'm experienced on that level, dog. I didn't taught people. I've taught trading and I've traded so much that's something you've never heard someone say before, and I'm willing to guarantee that's the case. And no one said that to me before. Just think about it. When you write that stuff, listen. Some people are going to know where I'm going with this. I'm just going to leave on this very important point. Yes, it's good in the moment, right? It's information that it seems like you found the holy grail in that moment, and it clicks and everything's bam. It's like, I get it now. And in that moment, you might kind of got it, yeah. But, you go back and it's almost useless because you can't recreate all of the information and the moment, where you were at the time. It's impossible to duplicate. So, for you, how do you get something out of it? And what are the implications? I think it's pretty straightforward. Anybody want to take a crack at that? I got like a minute probably before I have to leave, or before they send me my link to join. My take on it is the same as it's always been with everything else. You can read, you can study, you can do whatever it is that, to be able to say the information, right? To repeat the information. But it's not the same as muscle memory at all. The only way you're going to retain any of the information is by doing it. That simple. That is a fact. And that has never been written down anywhere. When it comes to trading, I've never seen it. Because there's so much emphasis on study, learn. Come on. Give me a break. Until you put it to use, until you implement it, it's not going to stick. It's just theory on paper. Is not helpful. You can't effectively communicate those ideas. This is why when you're learning, you need to be implementing at the same time. Hey, just something to think about. And you can see why I'm constantly saying, look, you might get what's being said. That's cool. Show us, show me, show yourself, right? put that information on wax. Post a chart to explain what you just heard or what you just feel like you learned, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then go through however many charts. Like, it ain't, this is not hard work. Could it be tedious sometimes? Sure, but you're sitting at a desk, and you know what I mean? So, like, let's not go there. The more you post, the more you will start to see the difference between you in your head and you posting things. You'll go back and notice things like, did I do that right? Let me try this on another chart. It's a lot different when you're in your head. You miss when it's just you talking to you, right? Sharing notes with just yourself. It's not the same. And that's from experience, but also, I mean, there's multitudes of studies that that outline this. So just something to think about. All right, let's see if they send me this link so I can bounce. Oh, that's why. That's they're in London. I'd mark the high of day, and I'd anything interesting in the pre-market, and then this is how I would approach it. I'd return when there is typically more volume on the trading day, or I would trade once I saw the extremes on one side or the other. You guys know this, but for those who don't, that's the strat. I make it easier on myself by being more patient at the beginning. Okay, where are we at? Oh, that's what it is. Yep. We need a jet, dude. I'm sick of commercial planes. Honestly, I'm tired of flying. I already don't like flying. I'm tired of it. At this point, I don't want to fly anymore, dude. Okay, it's out of control. And I'm just going from LA to San Francisco, dude, like back and forth. So it's just yeah, no. It's just a lot. So so maybe I'll put that on my what do they call it, a vision board. Let's do that. I need to buy a jet, is what I'm saying. A private jet. What's the difference, you ask? One, about I'd say 1.5 times faster, but it's not really the problem. The big difference is that I don't want to go to LAX anymore, and I don't want to go to LAX in traffic anymore, and I don't want to come back to LAX in traffic anymore. Anywhere else, what should be a 20-minute drive is like an hour and a half. It's I've had enough. Okay, let's see. Can we join? Our subconscious has a much greater effect than we give it credit for. Information we can consciously recall at any moment is not nearly as important as our intuitive flow state. Yeah, that's a cool way of putting it. I concur. It's just like Kobe Bryant talking about visualizing things first. Concept of visualization. Yes, Burbank Airport is great. That's usually where I fly out of if I go anywhere else, if I can. Okay, so what did they? All right, so yeah, I guess it is our time here. But yes, that once again, this is also why I've said I do not believe that trading journals are effective ways to measure what you do well and what you need to improve on. They are a tool that may provide some insight for some people, but the way that they've been talked about traditionally, I don't agree with that because again, you're not in the moment. You have to there's knowledge that you can't get on paper. You already have it. Think about it. Like what things that you didn't learn everything from what you've read or seen someone else do. Some things just have to learn through experience. And it doesn't mean you need the same amount of experience as someone else to have the same types of results. You just need everyone's different. You just need to process that information a certain way. So this is why I am against studying nonstop without any, experience. I know people want to feel comfortable or safe in what they know and be as informed as possible. But again, being informed doesn't help you become a trader. So, people really need to be able to jump into trading in some capacity early on while they're learning. It's the exact reason that, uh, they have infants that learn to swim immediately. Put them in the water, they float naturally. It is not only, it's great for them in terms of safety, but it's easier than being an adult who has one developed mass, right, with less fat, more potential to sink, right, tougher to float, but also it's the same reason why, let's say, kids who are really great at something, what they call, I think some people might refer to these kids as, well, you could say a savant in some ways, but if you learn something when you're really young, you don't tend to question the information that you're given. And you also have less information clouding that and challenging what you're learning, so you're able to move straight into it. This is why Remember how early on, when you first got into trading, most likely, unless you had heard a bunch of horror stories from someone else, I think everybody has that moment of, damn, this is easier than, if it's not easier than I thought it would be, there's at least that moment of, wow, I made money. You know how much I could make if I just have this much money. I trade this much for this many days. Here's how much money I would make. You start calculating, counting how many days until you can tell your boss where they can go, you know? Start working on your quitting story, all that. But truth is, the more experienced you are, the more you can laugh that notion off. It's the same reason why you won't let your family get into trading. Did SP just say the quiet part out loud? Yes. Yes, he did. Absolutely, he did. Because some of us know some of our family members or friends are not cut out for this. You don't want them to, it's not just you don't want them to go through this. You're doing the same thing that pretty much I do when I meet newer traders. Mentally, I'm thinking, hold on, okay, buddy. Certain things you say tell me that you're going to hit these walls. And, and people don't understand that. It's very subtle. And I'm telling you now that it's the same thing when I see people do or not do certain things. I know from my own experience what that journey looks like. And so I can see when someone is on that journey or they aren't. And that should be enough to wrap this up here. I thought I would use that analogy to help you better understand where I'm coming from. Easier to teach someone who is just willing to listen and do. When you got your own mind made up about how it can be done, you're undermining yourself. That's what I know. Oh, finally, okay, they sent me my links. Great. Time to go into the meeting. You can watch videos all day, he says, about punching and kicking. Doesn't mean a thing till you get in the ring. Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. There's nothing can prepare you for the moment where it's actually time to do something. It's like watching people drive cars. When it's time to take your driving test, that written test seems like it did nothing for you, right? Everything you read on the written test before you get your license is it's cool. You might be able to pass that, but it's not the same as that, instructor sitting or the examiner sitting in the passenger seat with his foot on the brake and the clipboard in their hand. And now it's time to parallel park. Not the same. But you know when that is easy, right? When you've been out driving before you have a permit or a license. Isn't that funny? Right? It's weird how when you have experience, it's not so scary. Wow. So it's like you kind of got to get experience regardless. Insane. That's how most, well, I ain't going to say how most people do it. I don't know, but log the hours. Yep, that's all it is. You need that. Studying information is good too. It's just you need both of them. That's all. One of them you can measure. You can measure the hours you study. You can actually measure the hours you put in, but you can take a test and it'll assess what you know, but only you truly know what you've practiced and what you can harness physically and how comfortable you are. That's all relative. Everyone's skill level and the amount of development that each individual might need can vary, so I can understand why that might be a little more difficult to nail down. Or a lot of people will, use this reason. We're going to say reason instead of excuse today. But a lot of people will use that reason, say, I'm going to study these things. And if I know these things first, right, if I can understand them, then I'll get into the market. All you're doing is procrastinating. You're just delaying things a little bit longer. And it can be scary for some people, but you are ultimately in control, and you have a lot of resources here, so you'll be all right. I will catch you guys on the flip side. What do you say? No, Michael Scott said on the flippity flip. But yeah, all in all, as you can see, there's no shortage of energy. I'm forcing myself to get up in the morning, regardless of whether or not I plan to trade. And I'm here streaming even before we start going public with everything, because, hey, guess what? There's an energy that comes with this as well. There is a certain regimen. You got to be comfortable doing it, and you have to get yourself into that rhythm. If you want to do great things, you're going to have to do things that you don't like, things that are uncomfortable and or inconvenient, which I'm sure you guys already know. Just want to remind you that trading is still one of those things until you can get to that point where it is comfortable. Don't believe the lies of people that say things like, it was simple to learn a strategy and now they trade that strategy and now they, done before lunch, right? Hashtag done before lunch. And now they want to see how much money they can give away to people in the chat. Come on, give me a break. No one who's ever worked for that money is giving that money away like that. I mean, I've given away, just so, I don't want people going back and looking through my tweets like, hey, this guy gave money away. But I gave money away to families or people who, needed it. It wasn't based on, whether or not you like and retweet and save whatever. If I'm not mistaken, when I was doing that, the replies, or what I had people reply, was what they were grateful for. Bam. Look at that. It's all coming back to me. Maybe I'll do that again. They haven't let me into the Zoom call yet, so we're just chilling. Oh, yesterday the United States approved $20 billion in loans for Ukraine. I don't know what's more absurd, the 20 billion or the fact that they're using the word loans. Come on, give me a break. Where I'm from, they call that something that I'm not going to say on stream. It starts with an L. Yep. That's what that seems like, which is strange. Approved 20 billion for student loans. Hey, what Joe Biden has had some initiatives, which I don't know who's the pair of those, but there are some that, there was some debt forgiveness, but yeah, no, if you're gonna, I wholeheartedly believe in paying back whatever loans, one gets. But yeah, when you start to look at giving money to foreign nations, it's time to start having that conversation on how our own citizens are impacted by things like that. Because just because a student borrowed years ago for education, when we want to stimulate the economy, and there all these initiatives, when they tell you go to this university or go to college and you'll be able to make this as a, there are no guarantees on what kind of revenue you're going to make out of college. Until there's a guarantee there, yeah, I'm actually open to the idea of making it simpler for students, especially when it impacts your credit, and your the overall debt that you're in. Yeah, 100%. But that would mean that the government gave a shit about the American people. So, yep, I agree. Actually, I think I know there are some programs that are out there. It makes me want to. I'm gonna actually jot this down. I'm gonna make it a note to look into that. I wonder what is out there. Depends on who you borrow from, I suppose. Because these quote unquote private entities, as far as the free market goes, they're going to want to make their cut. Also, that's a new low of day. Right as things are getting fun over here. Still, I mean, you still have this range. And remember, we talked about that 30-minute chart. So or that 30-minute opening range. Let's make sure we can get a good look. 30 minutes opening range. Candle is still tucked within it. Nothing to see here. Yeah. Oh, there you go. So actually, looks like they're going to let us in on, pretty sure my people are already in. So that means I'm out here. I'll talk to you guys a little bit later. Peace.